Hello everyone. Chances are if you clicked on this video, you probably have the question. Is it the best time to start a YouTube channel? I see this question float around quite a bit, maybe because this is my YouTube channel, and I see it pop up on my front page a lot, probably because it knows that I am a YouTuber, or trying to be anyway. And, you see a lot of answers from a lot of people. And of course, my, my first inclination is to answer, no, no, God, no, shoot. Why would you ever do that? Absolutely not. I mean, think of the
mental stability alone.
But I guess this is a serious question. And if your name is Matthew, Mark, Felix, or Jimmy, then absolutely. Go. Start a YouTube channel. Start today. Go hard in the paint. You can't lose. You can't lose. You can make more money than God, and then just be that guy. Be that boy. But here's the thing. And no offense to any of those guys, because they've done what they got to do or whatever. And no offense to any YouTuber who has any skosh of popularity on this platform, right? They put in the work, you do the thing. Very few people get popular and stay popular without putting down some heavy-duty framework, okay? So I'm not being disrespectful there. Obviously, you got the sometimes people, it's a cute phrase that gets thrown around, and then they're popular for like 15 minutes, and you don't want that. You want to be the people who throw down for a little while and have the slow burn in popularity, so on and so forth. You're looking at people who have been successful. And so of course the answer is absolutely do it. You're looking at the sports star that gets paid millions upon millions of dollars, who during interviews says, man, God bless me, man. And I just want to say to all the kids out there, keep following your dreams. Just follow your dreams and you can't go wrong. Obviously, we all can't be sports stars making millions upon millions of dollars, right? We have to readjust our expectations a little bit. If you've clicked on this video, like I said, you're looking for an answer to this question, or you've considered it. And if you've looked at other videos like this, then you've probably seen answers from people who are doing a little bit better, or have some sort of foothold on this platform, right? You probably would like an answer from somebody who's still a relatively small speck of dust on the back of the old television in the unused wing of the mansion that is in fact YouTube. What up? I'm Jay Cephas, and I'm going to give you what, in my honest, candid opinion, is the most honest answer to this question. This is not me being funny. This is not me going to poke holes at anybody unless I need to. This is me trying to help you help yourself, I guess. I'm going to answer this in sort of 3 stages. First, to kind of understand the background and why we even asked this question in the first place, kind of where I came from, and maybe a little bit of like why my background is what it is, and why I even started on this in the first place. We're going to talk about the big boogeyman in the room, that is the algorithm. And then we're going to kind of talk about, bring it all around to you. Can you live with all that comes with it? Can you actually do what you need to do and take the blows? And after all that, is it something that you still want to do? And hopefully by the end of this, you will have the answer to the question, do you want to be a YouTuber, and is now the right time to do it? So YouTube came about when I was really first starting to get real popular, when I was an extremely poor kid in college, right? We're talking like $25 to my name. It was, do I fill up the car with gas this week, or do I treat myself to a little snack? More often than not is put gas in the car, right? A lot of ramen eating in those days. And so I saw YouTube, and I watched the old YouTube poops and all that stuff, and just laughed my ass off about it and had a great time. But it seemed like that was something that, even though it was quote unquote YouTube, broadcast yourself, it seemed like there was some barrier there. Like I couldn't quite do that yet. And I had a friend who made a YouTube poop of his own. Like, you could do it, but it's just, I felt like you had to have the know-how, certain equipment, whatever. And I just didn't really know. Now, as I started to get out of college, that was when some of those MCN, the multi-channel networks or whatever, were starting to break down, and the field was blasted wide open for just the guy with a microphone and a camera to come out and just do whatever and get fairly popular. Now, at the time, being a YouTuber, especially kind of on your own, was a highly speculative thing, right? When you're talking about like stocks, real quick, right? You have things that are aggressive where it's like, okay, we know this will probably work, but it's still a little risky. And then you have speculative, which is nobody knows if this is going to work or not. And who really knew that when you picked up the camera and the microphone that, oh, you could actually make a career off this, like a good career off this. But obviously, as with stocks, if you're not one of the people who gets in on the ground floor of it, you don't see the huge rewards. Now, you can buy into it later, but your return is not going to be quite as big as those people who have been there since the very beginning, right? So there's sort of this flattening curve of sorts, if you will, as the longer you get into it. And I feel like that's obvious because you can look on YouTube right now and see that there's any number of videos on any number of topics that have thousands, if not millions of views. So why can't you do it, right? Why not you? That seems like it should be a fairly easy thing, right? But it's so much harder to get a foothold in it than it seems like it should be. When I was a kid, right, I kind of always liked good entertainers. I listened to a good bit of music when I was a teenager. I loved stand-up comedians. I even liked watching like race car drivers or, different sports players or whatever. People who were really, really good at what they did, be really good at it because it was inspiring. When I see somebody like a musician, like the beginning of a concert, right, where the smoke comes up and the singer like emerges with a silhouette or whatever and launches into like the big single off their new album or whatever, and everybody in that concert hall just feels like they're 10 feet tall. Everybody's ready to scream and cheer and everything. That is one of the best highs that I don't think any substance can ever touch. I love that. I chase that sort of thing. And perhaps foolishly, I figured, it'd be cool if I could do something like that. And so I dabbled in some stuff over time. I took some theater classes in high school, and I was around some things. I played in a cover band for about 15 minutes, played a bass in that. Like, I did a lot of dabbling hither and thither and everything. But obviously I had other things going on. I couldn't just stop what I was doing because I had college. I had bills to pay. I had things that I had to do that sort of kept me from going full bore into it. Now, full stop. A lot of people say, well, if you really, really want to do something, you should just do it. That's not always the best advice. Yes, it sounds inspiring to say, throw caution to the wind and just do it. But you got to eat. You got to keep a roof over your head. You got to take care of the base level of things before you sort of come up to the second level and take care of your more emotional needs, which we'll get to in a little bit, right? After a few years, and I started working at the job that I, at this point, have now, I started to I got this house and I had a nice little office space. I had a little extra money to start throwing into some stuff. So I said, I'm going to try this. And so I started this honestly fairly low effort YouTube channel called Hats Off to You. You're an OG if you remember that one, which was basically a glorified vlog. Like, I just sit and try to be funny, talk about things. I do little skits from time to time. I did like a cologne commercial on it that I think I've got on this channel now because I've migrated a couple things over. I wrote a book during that time. Like, I wrote a little short fantasy novella. Is it great? Probably not. You can still buy it, by the way. It's on Amazon. Is it great? Probably not. But, it was something that I had in my head and I felt like I had to put out into the world. And that is one of the things, the cornerstones of being in a entertainment space, having a platform like YouTube, that I think is maybe step one on if you need to do this or not. See, I talked earlier about having the level where your needs are being met, right? I have a good job. I've got more or less everything taken care of. I'm comfortable. I don't really have to worry about other things going on other than just life stuff that happens to literally everybody, right? I'm now in a position, or at least I was then, to be able to start to flex that creative muscle because I had these ideas in my head that, yeah, they were cool in my head, but I really wanted somebody else to see them. I wanted to take what was in here and put it into real life and put it into a tangible thing that was out here so that almost as a challenge, first off, to see how well I could translate what was in my head to an actual physical space. And then two, hoping that somebody else, and not having any delusions, frankly, about people thinking it was the best thing ever and etc. This guy, he's so good at what he does. I mean, it'd be cool if it did, but I just really wanted for somebody, anybody, to think, hey, I like this. It's funny. And sure, it's a lot of my friends, a couple family members who enjoyed it, and that's fine. But along the way, you do start to pick up a couple of people who you don't know who seem to really like what you do, and that means a lot. It's cool to be able to put, like I said, yourself out there and have somebody latch onto it and appreciate what you've done. It feels like you've communicated with the world and, in a way, inspired somebody. Again, it goes back to sort of that levels of fulfillment. You've got the baseline here, but now, and there's some psychologists, I forget who it is, I didn't really prepare this, I've got my notes here, I didn't bring my psych book from college with me, but it's the gotta have layer, and then it's the sort of what do you feel you need to do layer, right? And that's the level where you feel like there's something more than what you're doing. Again, yes, I have a comfortable job. I've got a great home situation. I have a wonderful wife. I've got a house full of pets that I love most days. I've got some really great friends that I see. Like, life is, generally speaking, pretty good, but I still feel like there's something I need to be doing, some outlet for these things that I'm thinking, these ideas that I have. And if I just sort of throw a blanket on them and try to forget about them, that's fine. But after a while, it starts to come back. And so it's always this sort of yo-yo where I could, but should I? But I need to, but do I really want to? And if you feel that, it might be worth looking into having some form of a YouTube channel. It's not that you're sad, and it's not that you're not fulfilled or whatever. I want to make that very clear. Don't use YouTube as a crutch to make you feel better, because it won't, and we'll get into that in a little bit too. But what I'm saying is, you feel like there's another level of fulfillment that you're trying to achieve to sort of fully realize who you are as a person. And with that comes the trying to act like the person that the world sort of expects you to be, versus being the person who you feel like you are on the inside. And as sort of a society, I feel like we keep flirting with that line more and more and more. And YouTube, as long as you're doing it in a positive way, clearly, can be a place for you to do some of the stuff and have some of the outlet to be able to show more of who you are and to sort of round out your personality and really speak to your true self. And I think that is important, especially with the way we are now, with everything being so interconnected and a lot of people feel lonely and depressed all the time. Having some outlet like that, so even if it's just a hobby, even if you don't make a penny off it, I think there's some value in just that. But obviously, I said something earlier about, you got to have people who see this, right? And this is the big boogeyman in the closet. And I don't think that anybody, I'm not even sure that YouTube corporate understands how the algorithm works, okay? Now, I'm not going to sit here, I don't know anything. I don't have a peek behind the curtain. Nobody at YouTube has called me up and said, hey, Jay, this is how this works. The algorithm is like I said, it's kind of like this boogeyman, right? You'll put something together that you're very, very proud of, and you'll throw it out there, and it may not stick, or it may track. It's really a coin flip, and there's all kinds of people who talk about what to do and what not to do, and frame your videos like this and do this, and there's a lot of noise that goes into this. And we'll kind of hit a little into that in a little bit, but the big thing right now is that a lot of people are saying that now is probably the best time to be a YouTuber because YouTube's algorithm is favoring more long form, less edited for retention, quick cut content. Let's be real. There's been a lot of content these past few years from some of the content mill type places where it's very jump cutty. It's very this, and then there's big bold words across, and then random noises, and just lots of stuff going on to try and trigger your constant reaction and try to keep you engaged, and it's kind of an assault on your senses, frankly. A lot of people honestly have been disenfranchised with short form content because it's sort of a limiting factor on being creative. You now have to crunch down everything into this nice little snippet, and it's I have my emotions about that, but like I said, I'm not trying to poke holes in nothing here. But it is potentially good that YouTube is trying to cater to that, or at least so it seems. Question is, though, is it a day late and a dollar short, as we say in the business world? Has YouTube potentially lost a generation of talent? Because let's be honest, let's be very, very honest with ourselves. There are people who used to be in YouTube who have either retired, given up, moved on, or starting new adventures, who have maybe not entirely put it away, but you can tell that it's not really them running it anymore. They're kind of a face, doing new ventures, making movies and music and such. And again, this isn't a dig on anybody. This is just being honest. Funny thing about creative types is that once they sort of feel like they've done all they can in one space and sort of flex their full creative muscle here, they're going to go do something else. Now, that doesn't mean that they'll stop doing what they're doing here, but they're not necessarily trying to push new frontiers here, okay? There's only so much land that you can claim in a given space here, right? I own a certain amount of property, and I can only build so many things on it, okay? After that, I got to go find new property somewhere else. I got to go buy me some other land somewhere, right? As those people maybe are taking up less space or maybe even giving some of it up, it's gonna sort of have to transition to new people. Now, who is that gonna be? It could be some of the more corporate type YouTube channels, because we've seen where it's not MCNs, but businessy type groups that own YouTube channels. It's not just a dude and a cameraman and an editor or whatever anymore. It's a team of a few dozen people. Those may be the people who sort of inherit YouTube at this point, because they are able to just make content constantly all the time, every day. And then obviously there are like businesses and news networks and entertainment companies that have YouTube channels where they can put clips of things or whatever. And obviously YouTube's still there for those people. Obviously, there's still, you can look up how to fix your damn water heater on YouTube. There's still a place for that. Like, there's still a place for everybody here. But as far as having a group of people who is the next sort of heir apparent to be the YouTubers of this generation, who's it going to be? Because not everybody can stay here forever. All right? People are going to come, they're going to go. It's a constantly revolving door, right? To that end, though, I have seen where even just on like our YouTube channels, like when we're just going through watching videos, I'm seeing more and more like channels that I've never heard of that only have like one view on a video being recommended to me. And I'm like, okay, I see you, YouTube. You're actually trying to push the little guy up. Some of my videos, which used to maybe get a few dozen, if that, views, have gotten in the hundreds or even the thousands here recently. Content that, frankly, I wasn't even like, it's fairly low effort content. I still like doing it, but it's not anything that I'm like super, super proud of. And I'm like, oh, this is my piece de la resistance. This is my masterpiece, my magnum opus or whatever. It's just a video I did when I had a few minutes and I wanted to be funny, right? So maybe now is a good time to start. But I don't necessarily think that this shouldn't be our signal flare to just throw it all in and say, okay, it's definitely got to work this time. Because again, this algorithm's constantly changing, and it changes based on what's here now, what's coming up. And again, nobody really knows what's under the hood of this thing, right? So there's going to be times where it works a little bit this time, it doesn't work so much this time. And just because now might be the best time to do it doesn't mean that it's going to take off overnight. You have to have the patience to go with that. And that leads into the third thing, where we kind of bring it all back around to you, dear viewer, who's thinking about having a YouTube channel, probably more than likely. Like I said, I started with that hats off to you thing. And I did that for about a year and a half or so. And then I sort of just gave it up, right? I sort of just gave it up thinking, whatever, where am I going with this? I was comfortable, but I didn't have tons and tons of money to throw into like a really, really nice rig, right? But I decided after watching a video that was not entirely like this one right here, that I was like, I'm going to try it. I'm going to give it another go. I'm going to give it a real shot too. Not just a half-assed, let's see how this goes shot. A real legitimate Let's put all the chips in the middle of the table. Let's really try to make this work. Let's make a good handful of videos so that nobody can say you didn't at least try. And so I made this channel that you're watching this on right now. And it was a gaming channel. I started with, videos where it's just me playing like Mario Maker or Overwatch or Phasmophobia or whatever. And I played indie games. I tried to play a FNAF game. I tried to do popular games. I tried to do unpopular games. And the number of views fluctuated a lot, as they're going to. Of course, when you very, very first start and you tell all your friends, oh, I got a YouTube channel, of course you're going to have a lot of views on those first few because they're like, hey, that's my boy right there. Yeah, good job. Go, man. But then, after a while, and I told everybody this, I didn't expect anybody to just watch my videos out of some sort of, because you gotta. That I wouldn't expect them. They got to hear me all the time anyway. I wouldn't expect them to watch videos of me when I'm not around. It's not fair. Some do. That's fine. I'm not mad about the people who don't. Like I said, I understood that. But eventually that does start to wane away. And then you're just kind of out there with the algorithm. Just you and him just boxing in the ring, right? Things are going to get really weird because you're going to go from a little bit of momentum to not having a whole lot of momentum. And see, in my case, I started off and it was good and sort of, did this. And then there were some really, really low points, like really, really low points. And then I made this video. What if Ethan Winters had joined the forces with Carl Heisenberg in Resident Evil 8? Obviously, there will be late game spoilers for Resident Evil 8, City Folk, or whatever the hell it's called. That video right there was something new that I had dabbled with in the previous video, but not to that level. It was a what if scenario about a popular game and a popular character. And it was sort of a popular subject, but a lot of people were just recycling content from the game. Even though what I drew there is not groundbreaking on any level, I guess it was still humorous enough, and the way I presented it was humorous enough. A lot of things, I guess, came together in that cocktail to really take off. And it didn't take off at first. I mean, for the first few days, it was actually kind of low. And I was like, okay, whatever. And then by the end of that week, the number started going up and up and up. And I think it got to like 200 views, which was a bunch for me at the time. And I said, okay, cool. Well, I'm going to make another video sort of in the same vein that didn't do anywhere near as well, by the by. While I was doing the finishing touches on that, I opened my YouTube app and I'm checking. And I'm watching the numbers on the Heisenberg video just chunk up each time I refresh it. And my subscriber count started going up and my number of comments started going up and all these things started to increase. And I was like, whoa, this is amazing. Like for a moment, for about a month, I felt like a real YouTuber, like a real bona fide, like this, I actually belonged here. I didn't have imposter syndrome. It wasn't just me just doing stuff and, cosplaying as a YouTuber. Like I was actually doing the damn thing. And then, like I said, I made that follow-up video and it didn't do anywhere near as well. I made a video that was a skit of me that I had said in the comments of the Heisenberg video that I would make. Like me being like doing a little Heisenberg skit live action. And it did pretty good. Nowhere near as well as that Heisenberg video. That Heisenberg video, however many years this is later, like 3 years later almost, is still getting views. Like it still gets as many or more views than other content of mine gets, right? And it's wild because it's not a great video. I can look back. I look back after, like when I was still fairly new to this and it was taking off. I look back and rewatched it a couple of times just to sort of try to learn for myself what I had done and see if I could rake in some knowledge. And I'm looking at it like, it's kind of garbage. It's kind of sucks. Like there's a lot of things that I could have done better. Like my narration is pretty good, but I tried to kind of one-shot a lot of it. I didn't do a lot of like takes or anything. And there's a little bit of rambling. The final bit of it sort of just trails off. It doesn't really, like I don't have like an exclamation mark on the end of my biggest video ever. There's a lot of things I could have done better, but that's the one that did it. That video has eclipsed every other video by many, many factors. If you had like a bar graph of my videos, that one would be that's the only bar that would show up. The rest of them would be like little pebbles at the feet of this one giant monumental video that I'm not even that proud of in hindsight. But that's the one that took off. And no matter what I did, trying to make a similar type video, trying to do similar content or include that same character or whatever, none of that quite hit the same way. It didn't have the same traction. And so I can't make the same video twice. I literally cannot do that. So now what do? It's just kind of there, and it's still generating views. I still occasionally get some comments and subscribers off it, I think. Like, it's still working for me. But then videos that like I actually took time to do, like they hit a hard cap and then they just stop. Like they just stop. And it's like the stuff that I'm very proud of is not doing well at all. And then stuff that is sort of like a throwaway. Oh, that's the one right there. Do more of that, even though I literally can't make the same video. And so like that, I went from floor level to up there, back to the ground, and then I've sort of just been hovering over the ground ever since. And sometimes I'll make a video that'll do really well, and then it'll come back down, and then it's a constant roller coaster. And I don't understand too, because there are videos I do that have lots of views, but very few likes and a little bit of engagement as far as like comments and that sort of thing. And then there are videos that I make that maybe because they're much shorter or it's a completely different kind of content or something, that it's just completely different. And it doesn't go anywhere. But I'll get like a good number of likes on it, like a much higher proportion of likes to views than I did on another video that had many more views. So which is better? Going back to sort of the original point, it's, do I want less people to be happier with what I've made, or do I want to appeal to a broader audience that may not care as much? And this kind of goes back to the whole thing of, what do you want to do? There are a lot of quote-unquote gurus on this website who will try and tell you how to make your YouTube soar, right? And I have opinions about all that, generally not great, because they ask you things or tell you things that really aren't relevant to everybody. A lot of times it's, well, how do you grow your business? And if you're growing a business, then you need to look at YouTube as a way to generate leads. But if you're anything like me, you just want to make people laugh, maybe shed the occasional tear. You're not really looking to promote a business. It's a hobby for you that you enjoy doing, and if you can make a few bucks off it on the side, cool. It's wild the information you get that's objectively wrong. Like when they talk about, well, make sure your thumbnail says this, or make sure it's titled this, or make sure whatever. I've seen thumbnails that are either just the stock ones that like YouTube auto clips out of your thing, where some dude's just like with no text, no nothing. There are channels that I've seen recently where it's just somebody's face with some text out to the side and then just like a blank background. Some girl's head is blocking half the text behind her or whatever. Like, they're bad thumbnails. They are bad thumbnails, and they have thousands and thousands of views and a lot of subscribers. I've literally seen black screens with maybe a little bit of text on them or nothing. And the title is like a period or something, or a couple of dashes. And it has thousands of views. Now explain to me, YouTube gurus, what thumbnail trick did somebody use to do that? Oh, well, they used minimalism and they got the people. They piqued intrigue because they had subscribers that were there who wanted to see what they had to say. That, what good for D ain't good for me, okay? You have to kind of run your own race, especially when you're starting fresh in this. And this is probably the biggest thing about YouTube. You're going to want to be tempted to try and do stuff that's not up your alley, frankly. I've been reading this book, and it's a business, like professional, help development book or whatever, but it's actually got some good stuff in there, just generally about how to be a better person yourself. And it's about trying to entice people to go with you toward a goal instead of trying to drag people behind you to a goal. And one of the biggest things in there, one of the first things they talk about, is being authentic. Don't come on here doing some impersonation of yourself, some diluted down, just what you think will track or what you think people will want to see. I mean, obviously, don't come on here being a jackass, okay? If you ain't got nothing nice to say, we don't want you here, okay? But I'm saying, don't be overly dramatic and what is I'm gonna eat the microphone here and whoa boy, howdy and woohoo, like that was part of my thing is I didn't want to do that. That was part of the reason why I started this channel was I didn't want to be, I kind of wanted to almost be the anti-YouTuber because a lot of people during the time when I started this channel were the like over the top, like in your damn face type people. And there's nothing wrong with that if that's what you like. And obviously it's gotten them a lot of views, but not everybody likes that. To the earlier point about maybe the algorithm's kind of getting away from people who just do the wham bam marketing. But if you're not authentic to yourself, people will be able to tell that. Okay, that's the first thing. And second thing, if you're not enjoying what you're doing, it's not worth doing because you have to be your biggest fan in the early going. You have to be your own cheerleader because, and this is not a dig against anybody around you, but I mean, nobody's going to run to your aid and prop you up and make you into some overnight sensation. Sure, you'll have friends and family that'll support you, watch your videos, all that sort of stuff. I'm not saying you're going to be all on an island by yourself. But in the gigantic mansion that is YouTube, you are going to be so far removed from the core happenings of what goes on the site that you are going to feel like you are just, like, frankly, you're pissing in the wind. And it's going to be very discouraging. And if you just try to follow trends, if you just try to stay on the bleeding edge of new things, which you can't do, let's just be honest. By the time you make a video trying to chase the algorithm's moved on to something else, okay? You just need to do you. You need to stay kind of in your own track of what you feel comfortable with. And you never know, it might work out or it might not. But if it doesn't, here's the great thing about it. It doesn't make you any less of a person if you don't make it. If you don't take off, you're still valid. Putting yourself out on the internet where everybody can judge everything about you, the complexion of your skin, the way you style your hair, the way you talk, the type of content you put out, the production value of it, while you're still trying to cut your teeth on it and learn, it can be very demoralizing. And you feel like people are making personal comments about you, and they probably are because, well, they probably hate themselves and they have to try and find some way to make themselves feel better. You don't listen to those people. Those people aren't for you, okay? Take breaks when you need to. If I do a video that doesn't do that hot, I just take a couple weeks off. F it. I got no skin in this. I can do whatever, whenever I want to. And if the algorithm favors me that day, cool. If not, whatever. You got nothing really to lose if you just want to start with 1 or 2 videos and just see how you like it. Keep in mind, though, making a YouTube video takes a lot of work, a lot of effort. And when you spend 3-4 hours, sometimes a couple of days, depending on how in-depth the video is, putting together a video and then putting it out there on the internet, and then it gets like 8 views and 1 like, it's pretty demoralizing. And you kind of have to make that call for yourself if it's worth your time. Kind of going back to the stocks thing, right? When we're talking stocks, we're talking money. If you get in on the ground floor of something with a few dollars, all of a sudden it becomes a few $1 million. Right, now you have to pay however many dollars per share of a much higher stock that probably is not going to go up that much. And you have to ask yourself, is it worth it to get that return on investment or just hold on to my money and put it maybe towards something else? And that's probably to me, the single biggest question that you got to ask yourself is the time investment worth it? Is this something that you want to do so badly that you're willing to take a few hours away from maybe your family and friends, lock yourself in your little office or your recording space for a few days and just record and make some stuff and then put it out there and be okay with whatever happens? If it's something that you have to get off your chest so bad that you're willing to do all that goes into making a video, then I say go for it. Will you be the most successful person on earth? You won't know until you try. Realistically, if I'm being completely honest with you, again, very candid, none of us are probably going to be the next huge YouTuber. I don't even know if that's really a thing that can happen anymore with as saturated as this platform can get. But if it's worth the time investment to you, if it's worth taking the effort to learn and to put some money towards some recording equipment and some editing software and trying to sort of get something up off the ground, if you have a story to tell that is bouncing around your head so hard it's about to burst, then absolutely, take your shot. I'm still, like I said, a fairly small speck of dust in this gigantic ecosystem, and I've been making a lot of videos about a lot of topics over the course of a few years now. And every time that I'm like, you know what, I'm going to drop it for a little while, I always come back. Hopefully this helped you. And if you saw this, obviously it was fate. And I hope that it helps you make a decision one way or the other. If you liked it, if it helped you, drop a like maybe, kick it into the algorithm a little bit more. And maybe we'll see you around sometime. I do have a subscribe button down there that you can hit if you like. And every so often I do little motivational things like this on top of video games and comedy and other stuff. So, I'm still here for the time being. I got at least one more short film in me. And maybe a handful more videos. And then we'll see what happens. But for now, here I am. Still worth the effort, for the most part. And until next time, bye.